Hello, my friends. Life sometimes throws a spanner in the works of our grand designs. Video material for this episode is waiting for more than a month to get published. Without making big excuses, I will say that I am sorry and I hope that you have enough patience for me. But this brings me to a question. Why am I making scale models to start with? I certainly don't need more schedules or stress in my life. Who does? Shouldn't this hobby, any hobby really, release you from stress? And for me, it does. Working on a modeling project is sort of a meditation for me. Just entering this space has a therapeutic effect on me. Or I could be elsewhere and just going through my thoughts about this project that I'm working on right now, or any number of great ideas I have for the kits in my stash. These thoughts about pleasant moments ahead is why most of us end up with mountains of kits that will never get built in our short lives. This propeller looks like it's been feasting over the holidays a lot. I don't remember it being this plump in reality. I think we'll have to send it to a fitness course of a sort to grind some of that fat away. It's a dirty business, so best to have a handy vacuum cleaner on alert. This is the new thinner blade, and this is how it looks straight from the box. I hope you can see a clear difference. I like to have my propellers free spinning for some photographic opportunities, and while Trumpeter did provide for this, the kit parts are a bit wonky, so I decided to improve on that. The prop shaft is made of steel wire, and the sleeve from plastic tubing of matching radius. Before committing to glue, I test the fit of the wing and the lower cowling panel. There were prominent gaps between panels on these high maintenance areas of the aeroplane, But it is always good to dry fit the major components to see if everything appears realistic and consistent. After approval by quality control, Tamiya super thin cement can be called into action. Using some styrene strips, I made locating pins for attaching the rudder to the vertical fin. Same method will be used for all the separate flying surfaces. Trumpeter provides metal hinges and rods to have these movable on the finished model, but since my pilot is gripping tight on that control stick and not moving his arms and legs, I decided to forgo on this feature. To prevent snow and ice freezing the gap between the propeller hub and the engine cowling, a small fairing was introduced to cover this opening. Most late-type MiGs had this detail, but it is visible as well on the aeroplane of Lieutenant Baikov that I'm making. As on the real aircraft, I used a thin strip of metal bent in a partial ring. Only I used brass instead of aluminum. Pick your preference. Black superglue cures slower and gives more flexible bond, so it is perfect for this job. And if you're asking how I managed this angled profile for the fairing, it is created by first making 90-degree bend along the length of the strip using bending tool, and then slowly bringing this in the ring shape. There is an important social aspect of model building. Stating the obvious, right? Here we are on YouTube. But what I meant to say is that the building process itself is quite solitary, even for me. Yes, I have this camera recording what I'm doing, and most of you don't do this while building models. But even for me, I'm sitting here alone and listening to some music or podcasts. But once some of us manage to finish a project, we want to show it to the world. And today we have all these nice digital platforms that allow for this. But in my experience, nothing comes close to the live modeling show. I cannot express in words how I felt when I first entered modeling contest as a young dude. Now, mind you, this was before Instagrams and modeling forums. So for me, this was really a revelation. But even today, there's such a buzz when you enter a show like that. It's like entering another universe. Seeing the great work that people are making and chatting with them, having the greatest hobby shop in front of you there as well, will elevate anyone's modeling and motivation ideas to do more and better. I would encourage anyone who hasn't tried this before to visit the show when it comes near you. And while there, why not participate? Enter a contest or put your model on a club table. I can guarantee you will have a lot of fun and probably learn a thing or two while you're there. Next in line is this split on the rear part of the canopy. When working with transparent parts, I always like to stay on the sunny side of safe or sorry. Masking tape is my friend, and this black marker helps me to see what I'm doing. Thick scribing tape is placed on both sides of the required split and provides just enough space for the saw blade to pass. I used the thickest blade from my toolbox to form this groove, removing the bandages to see if the patient survived. And finally, some panel liner reveals the result of this endeavor. Let me now fulfill my promise and build the air intake deflector for the glycol cooler. Some photo-etched parts would be nice here. I think I said this before. But in the lack of, I will be making some of my own. Brass is a soft metal, but it is metal nevertheless. It has more resistance than styrene plastic, so you need to bring more control and patience when working with it. It goes without saying that I had to do a lot of dry fitting and adjusting to adapt to this complex shape. As a matter of fact, the trick I used to help with the symmetry is that I always worked in twos. To properly align these pieces, all four of them needed to be fitted together without glue, which was a bit difficult as they are quite springy. But after a couple of tries, everything fell in place. In the past, I declined some offers to be a judge in a model show, mostly because I wanted to compete myself, but also because judges are not the most loved people by everyone, especially those who don't win but think they should have. There is no objective metric to decide who wins, who doesn't. If you are entering a modeling contest, you have to come with the mindset that there will be always a level of bias towards one or the other. We are all humans. Anyway, recently I've got another chance to be in a jury, and this time I accepted. It is an event organized for the first time in Switzerland near the city of Bern. It's called Glue and Glory. I will put the link in the description below. I'm frankly quite curious to experience the show from another side. If you're close by and interested, come and see the show. Maybe we can have a chat, or you can even enter the contest. I hope to see at least some of you there. Let's now bring some light to the landing strip. This thick piece of scrap plastic will become a reflector bowl for the landing light, which does not exist in the kit. Removing the thickness of the material requires a bit of patience, but it is not a difficult task with a grinding disc and a rotor tool. I attached my DIY reflector to a piece of sprue for the few finishing steps. Drilling a hole for the light bulb in the center, and finally making a reflective surface using a silver pen. After installing it on the leading edge of the wing, all that is left is to add provided transparent cover for the landing light assembly. Easy, right? Right? Well, the fit is not perfect, but a drop of crystal clear and some dedicated sanding and polishing can fix this. Or so I thought. Initially, all looked fine, but then I took a closer look. Knowing myself, I was certain that this would bother me. So I decided to take the long way round. I first saw this method on Plasmo YouTube channel and applied it successfully several times afterwards. So shout out to David. This thermoplastic material comes in different colors and under varied brand names. It becomes quite soft when heated and can therefore take any shape. When it cools down, it keeps its form, yet still remains somewhat flexible. It can be therefore used and reused many times for making molds and copying shapes using two-component epoxy putty. Now, many of you know this, but for those who don't, epoxy is quite sticky. So while preparing it, one should keep it in wraps for as long as possible and afterwards use a lot of water. Making these noodles of two components equal thin and long will help to mix them more evenly and then cure properly. You should see a consistent mass without any variation in color before stopping to knead the epoxy. I always end up with too much, but this is not bad, as one test piece is useful for telling when the epoxy is cured. This is very rough and far from perfect, but it will do the job. I can fill a few spots with super glue and then sand when it's dry. And finally, I can reduce the size of this piece to only the area that I'm interested in, aka the landing light. This is my Chinese vacuform machine, which I don't use too often, so I always forget what the working area is and have to measure again and again. It's 13 by 13 centimeters, so maybe I'll remember it next time. The gadget is made for dental work, so it's limited in size, but quite useful for making vacuform canopies and little parts like this. After cutting the acetate sheet to the right dimensions, I can then secure it in the frame of the vacuformer, push it up close to the heating coils on top, put my resin piece on the perforated table, and of course forget to plug in the machine in the electricity. After about a minute, the acetate foil will start to sag under the heat of the electric coils. When the speed of this softening increases, it is time to start the motor and make some noise. Releasing the lever drops the frame holding the foil onto the suction table and over our pattern. Let's see how we did. Acetate foil cools down almost in a matter of seconds after lowering the frame. It's tightly molded around the shape of our master, but also along the inner edges of the frame. When making a vacuform canopy, or any more complex shape, there would be much greater level of care needed in these steps. But here I'm prioritizing speed, as I know that only a small window that follows the shape of the leading edge is being made. So I can be slightly more relaxed while cutting out this piece. And as all of this was not enough, I now need to carve out the old cover for the landing light that is by now firmly glued in place. Oh joy! I am removing a bit more than just a transparent part from the leading edge, as the new cover will form the whole panel around the landing light. This helps to save the reflector underneath from damage. And yes, this was the plan all along. After carefully touching the edges of acetate with superglue and then letting the capillary action do its magic. Well, it's physics really, but magic sounds cool. Anyway, after all that, the landing light was complete and I couldn't be happier. Well, I guess I could, if we're talking about happiness as a state of being on some higher level. Putting the wing and fuselage together when both sub-assemblies are all done and dusted is always a pleasant moment and a milestone of a sort, as the aircraft shape finally appears from the heaps of parts in the box. It usually marks the end of detailing phase, although there still are few of those to be made on this build, and the beginning of painting. And to warm up for that complex camo in the next episode, let's now airbrush few details only. And for another small moment of gratification, big radiator housing for glycol cooler can be assembled and glued in place. to check the seam between the fuselage fillet and the wing, as well as reduce the size of these overly pronounced recessed rivets, I am sanding through several layers of primer that I sprayed earlier. This brings us back to the beginning, where I started this rant about the hobby. But now I would like to hear from you. What is your reason for gluing plastic parts together? I am sure that each one of us has a slightly different view, reason, and motivation for getting into scale modeling. Write it down in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and spread the word if you like this content. I will see you and your friends next time. Love and peace.